guys, it's 2020. We're halfway through the year already when I'm filming this, and I just wanted to talk with you about how to stop losing money with e-commerce. You see, I did this for a very long time. I was focused on the wrong things, even when I had people helping me, and my stubbornness had me focused on things that weren't actually going to create change in the results I was getting. I was paying too much for purchases. I was pushing products for too long that weren't actually panning out, right? They actually weren't converting. So I want to walk you through a step-by-step breakdown that goes just with side by side with another video I did where I broke down how to diagnose your funnel, which I'll link to in the description, and show you how to find out why your product is not converting and not working, okay? Now, what we're gonna talk about here is how to stop losing money with e-commerce. And yes, I put a weenie dog there because I have a weenie dog. His name is Frank. You've probably seen him in some of my other videos, especially now that I've been working from home. He does not lay in a bed of $50 or $100 bills, okay? I wish he did. He will someday. So that is one of my goals on my vision board that I don't have. So what this really means is how to problem solve your ads and products in 2020. Because a lot of people say it's the ad strategy, but in all reality, they're not diagnosing the whole thing. That's like you going to the doctor and saying you don't feel good, and then them hearing you cough and say, oh, you have this because not corona, you have this because you're coughing, right? When they didn't actually ask you and do a diagnosis of what the heck is really going on, okay? And ask you questions about your symptoms, right? So we want to think of that like we're becoming the scientist, the technician here, and we're gonna really problem solve what the heck is going on. So I'm gonna walk you through step by step each part of your funnel process and what you should be targeting just from my experience, and then also how to problem solve when things are off target or just nothing's working, right? So make sure to go back and watch that other video. I'm gonna have a link to the description right next to the link for my free dropshipping mini course, which is gonna show you how to get started in dropshipping today in 2020, okay? Step by step, everything from making your store to finding a product to testing it and scaling it, right? So let's start with step number one, which is everyone's favorite place, your ads, right? So here's what I aim for, okay, in my data point. So I'm looking for to pay about 50 cents, ideally, cost per click, okay? I'll pay as much as $1 per click if the product is converting. Like, let's say 7 to 10% of the people that come to my store actually make a purchase. I can easily justify spending $1, depending on the price point of the product, of course, but typically, if every $10 I'm getting a sale, most things I can turn a profit with, right? But in all reality, I want to be aiming for that 50 cent mark because historically, if you look at Shopify's day-to-day release, about 3% is a good conversion rate, maybe a little bit less than that, okay? Now, what we also want to look at next is your CTR, right? So the cost per engagement, likes, clicks, shares, comments, and basically anything to do with the ad, any touching feeling of it by the thumbs in your mobile phone or whether you're on desktop clicking at it, okay? So I always say aim for about 2.5%, right? And then for your link click, the percentage of people that, like, let's say out of every 100 people that see your ad in their newsfeed, you want at least 1.5% of them to actually click on the ad and go to the page. Now, something I didn't mention was CPM. CPMs are what you pay for every 1,000 displays of an ad in front of a human, okay? So that's really gonna be dependent on these numbers too, and it does tie in, but I like to pay $5 to $10 per CPM, okay? This is US traffic, by the way, really exciting, okay? If you're struggling to get your CPMs down, you definitely wanna check out a free mini course, so make sure to look at that, okay? And our paid course is pretty awesome too, shows you a little more in depth. Now, what you want to be thinking about here is basically how much you're paying for traffic, and then the click-through rates show you how engaging the ad is that you're putting in front of people, how interested they are, right? Now, if you're not getting these numbers or you're not getting good numbers, right, this is probably where the first breakdown is going to be for you because it's the first step, okay? We don't know how many people are actually going to buy, how much they're going to buy when they come to the page, or they're not coming to the page. So let's figure out how we get them to the page at a reasonable cost. So things you could try, maybe you need to test new videos. Maybe you need to test new image ads, or even take those image ads and turn them into carousel ads, which can actually do really well. Or you need to rewrite the text ad copy, right? So the text that's actually in the ad itself. Or maybe you just need to test different thumbnails. You take those same ad images that you made and you put them on top of the video and test different variations, okay? All these things can help you problem solve and make a difference. In all reality, it could just be the product sucks, right? That is not unheard of. Most products will not do well, okay? But this is gonna give you yourself the best shot to get as many people to your store that are somewhat qualified as possible, so you can then problem solve the next step. Next step after someone goes to your page is what you're paying to get someone to go from looking at the page to actually going to the cart, adding the product to the cart. So expressing that next level of intent, of interest, okay? So what you wanna think about here is, I always say you want about a $5 cost per add to cart. You can spend as much as $5 to $10 if it's a low ticket item, assuming that it's converting really well, but most likely closer to that $5 mark is gonna be the sweet spot. If you're selling things that are 15, 20, 25 bucks, if you're selling something that's $30 to $50, $30 to $70, you could probably afford to pay closer to the $10 mark, assuming you have a good conversion, which is gonna be the next step, which we'll talk about, okay? Ultimately, I like to see out of everyone that came to my store, at least 10 to 20% of those people add the product to their cart, okay? Because that gives me an opportunity. That tells me, the data is telling me that 10 to 20% of the people are at least pretty interested in this and are considering making the purchase. Whereas maybe if I have 3%, right? I know something's very wrong unless the thing costs like $200 or $300. I don't expect 30% of the people that add to the cart to make a purchase, right? It's gonna be, you might have to get on the phone to make sales that are pushing $500, $1,000, okay? So this is really gonna vary depending on your product price, like I just mentioned, and your cost per click. So if you're getting insanely cheap clicks, like 10 to 20 cent clicks, which is absolutely possible, I mean, you probably only need 10% to add to the cart, assuming you get half of those or a third of those people that add to the cart to actually make a purchase. So these numbers do vary. Just realize that. This is not like a black and white where you're failing if you're not hitting these numbers. I'm just giving you some good ranges to aim for based off of experience and explaining why. Now let's say that you're paying $15 or $10 to $20 with a $10 to $20 item to get a cart added, right? An add to cart, okay? I've never said that backwards like that. I like that. So what you want to think about here, if your cost for add to cart, or your ratio, your percentage of people that see the page and then add to the cart is super low or super expensive, then here's some ideas. So maybe you need to change up your offer, right? So maybe instead of offering just the item, or you buy one of them, then there's a variant for buy two, then there's a variant for buy three, which is typically one of our strategies. Maybe you test at a slightly higher price point, or the same price point if you can afford to bundle in the second unit. Maybe you test buy one, get one free, buy two, get three free, buy three, get six free, right? So mix it up, try different things, okay? Changing your offer is usually gonna be one of the best leverage points, okay? Next can be price point, and that will go hand in hand with the offers. Maybe sometimes you're just coming a little bit too high, okay? You can run a tool such as Hotjar, which is an app, gives you a free trial. You can see actually how long people are staying on the store, what they're doing when they're there, right? And then you could also test new images and copy. Maybe you just do a split test and rewrite your whole page, right? See, maybe the copy is not connecting with the consumer, okay? And also testing new product images might help as well, okay? Another thing is you could change the angle, right? So let me give you an example of changing the angle. The angle is basically the messaging around the benefits of the product and who it's for. So let's say like the posture corrector, which is one of the best-selling e-commerce products ever, okay? Now, instead of it being this thing that just helps with general back pain, maybe it's for office workers that can't get a standing desk, right? So the whole messaging is around, we understand that, you know, a standing desk is an option and you've been struggling with back pain, and you know, most posture correcting options are good out there. Chiropractic can be expensive if you don't have good insurance, right? So you can change the whole messaging to be specific for a person versus everyone, or it could be about changing it, what it's specifically solving with the problem, right? So instead of about being back pain, maybe it's lower back pain or mid back pain or neck pain, which is a byproduct typically of bad posture and back pain, right? So changing the angle can make the difference, okay? So breaking down, going through this checklist can make a big difference in the results you're getting, all right? Remember, that's gonna be going from page views, like view content, to actually adding to the cart. Now, the next is kind of 3 steps in one, but think of it this way. When people go from the cart to the actual purchase, right? So you can count and initiate checkout in there, yes, but ultimately I'm looking at what's it costing me to go from the overall cost per purchase, but more importantly, what's the conversion from cart to purchase, okay? So I always say you wanna aim for about 20 to 40% of your carts, your people that have added to the cart, to actually make the purchase. Can you afford 10%? Absolutely. If you're getting, here's a good example. If you're paying 50 cents a click or 30 cents a click, and 30% of the people that see the page add to the cart, and then most of those carts drop off, 90% of those carts drop off, right? You still have a good number of people, okay? So all these do vary. There's not like one black and white example of how things need to be, okay? I'm just showing you how one step of the funnel can completely impact the other step, right? So this solely depends on all the steps leading up to this, okay? And your product price. You can afford a lower percentage if ultimately your cost per purchase, which is what really matters, and all that matters when it's all said and done, what you pay to make a sale is the thing, okay? So test all of these, but do them one at a time. So maybe you have too much junk in the actual cart page, right? So if you're taking the cart page, maybe there's just too many things, okay? Maybe you're testing apps that do pop-ups and all sorts of stuff. Maybe you just need to clean things up and make it simple and more direct, okay? Another thing could be your core design, right? So maybe your design just looks really cheap, or you have low quality images for your logo, for example, within the cart, okay? Maybe you need to add trust badges. So maybe the design of the cart page is turning them off, okay? The next thing could be that some apps are slowing down your load speed, right? So this can kill the sale, okay? So it's always worth testing running with apps versus without. So if you have too many apps, your site speed will absolutely slow down, and then people get frustrated and they get bored and they want to watch cat videos instead of check out, okay, and buy your product. So you could do a site speed test and see where you're at, right? Next would be maybe you need to test free shipping, or even have a message built into your cart page where it says, use this code in the next 5 minutes to get free shipping, or 10% off, right? To incentivize them to move forward to the next step and actually make the purchase, okay? And the last but not least, you can also test a sticky banner at the top, right? Like so above your header, okay? And then show them how far they are from unlocking free shipping. This is another thing you can do. Really cool, inexpensive, or free apps that can do this for you, all right? Now, this is assuming that you're getting a good cost per purchase, and here's some examples. This is the last step. This is after you kind of checked all the boxes leading up to this, or that you've improved them as much as you can. Now, what I always aim for, these are my personal targets. So when I'm selling things that are in the $15 to $25 price range, I'm looking to pay ideally $10 cost per purchase, but as much as $20. That only works if people are buying multiples, right? Because if you're paying $20 to make a $15 sale, math ain't adding up. You're losing money, okay? So here's what I want you to think about is, and we'll talk about this last, is you need to get people, if you're selling low ticket items, you need to get them to buy 2 or 3 or some form of bundle, okay? If you're selling things in the $30 to $70 price point range, kind of that low mid ticket, you can typically target a $20 to $30 cost per purchase. Even if you're getting upsells, great. But if your product is $70, it costs you $20 or $25, and you spend $30 a purchase, you still have another, $15 left over in profit in your pocket. That's not bad, okay? Now, if you're selling more upper mid-ticket items, so anything between 80 and 150, you want to set a target depending on what your margin is, what your cost is, $30 to $50 cost per purchase. You should typically have a good margin if you're getting those numbers, okay? So it all depends on your average order value. If you can get someone to spend more money, you can spend more to get them to spend money, right? I can pay $50 a purchase if I'm getting the average customer to spend $100, and it's only costing me $25 in product cost out of that 100, right? That leaves another $25 over to go in my pocket, okay? Well, not exactly, because I still have to pay my merchant, I still have to pay my staff, I still have to pay Shopify, right? So it's not that simple, but you get the idea. So So let's talk about this last, right? So sometimes you will be hitting the $10 to $20 cost per purchase range with a $15 item you sell for $20 with shipping, right? But you're losing money. So how do you problem solve this as an example? Real simple. Get the person to buy 2 or 3 of the same item. You can also bundle in things that make sense to sell with your item, right? So if I'm selling like a shirt, maybe I want to sell matching shorts with it. Maybe 10 to 20% of my customers that buy will add that pair of shorts, okay? And then that puts me at an average order value, the average amount I'm collecting per purchase, which will offset my ad cost more and allow me to win, okay? It is a game. The game is how can I get them to spend more per order and how can I pay as little as possible? Everything we talked about up to this point mainly has to do with how much you're paying, bottom line, on average to make a sale. Now we want to think about how do we get people to spend more per purchase, okay? Remember, the person that wins is the one that gets people to spend as much as possible every time that they have someone come to their store that buys, right? That gives you more margin, more wiggle room to actually afford to continue to advertise, okay? It's a game, right? So buy more of the same. That is usually gonna be my go-to. That's where I always start. And that can be, maybe you sell them 3 shirts at the same price just because they're awesome shirts, or maybe you bundle 3 of them together at a discount and just present it on the product page, or maybe after within the cart or after the purchase is initially done, then you offer them a second shirt in a different color or the same for 50% off, right? If you can afford that margin, okay? Now, this takes place in multiple places, okay? So the first one is gonna be pre-purchase. This can be within the product page. Maybe you have a box that shows that they buy 2, they get 10% off. If they buy 3, they get 30% off, whatever, right? This can be variants. So maybe you have bundle variants where they have to select their color and then they have to select that they want 1, 2, or 3, okay? That works as well. This can also be in the cart. So there's a lot of apps that will allow you to represent whatever you want. I would always recommend start with more of the same or something else in the cart for the customer to buy, okay? And then there's post-purchase, right? This is gonna come from after the sale is already done, it's in the books, but apps such as One-Click Upsell, Intercart, Cart Hook, Sweet Upsell, they all represent something else that the consumer possibly will want or we believe will want. And then if 10% of them add it, maybe that's your margin, right? That offsets the high ad costs you're getting on out of the $10 to $20 cost per purchase range for low ticket items. Maybe you're hitting that $17 to $20 cost per purchase. These apps can allow you to get that second or third item in to offset your higher cost per purchase, okay? You can always increase the price too, just an idea. And this is just one of many ideas that are gonna help you. And I break this down more in my free mini course, which you need to get if you haven't already. Go ahead and check it out in the link in the description, all right? And also, I should link back to the last video we did where we talked more about the funnel itself and how to problem solve. It goes hand in hand with this, gives you some more target numbers, right? And just breaks down the process as a whole. But this will make the difference for you. This is stuff I didn't think about the first 6 to 12 months I was in e-commerce. I was just wondering why things just didn't work, right? So this will help you become a doctor, a scientist, a technician, right? So you can actually problem solve and make winners, okay? Not just depend on things working if they work and not if they're not. You can actually become a strategist with this, okay? It will make a difference. Hope this helps, guys. I actually know it will. Put it to use. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.